All right, you guys, let's continue our discussion about finding the vertex, and let's take a look at this application problem. So the directions say, solve using the quadratic formula. Jade wants to sell graphing calculators. The revenue function is given by R of P equals negative 15P squared plus 4,500P, where R of P is the revenue and P is the price in dollars. What is the maximum revenue? Okay. So let's look at some key points in this direction prompt. So the first thing is they've given us this function that represents revenue. R of P equals negative 15P squared plus 4,500P. And they want to know what is the maximum revenue. Okay. Now, let's see what we know about that function. Well, we see in the function that it's raised to the second power. So one thing we know is that we've been given a quadratic function. Okay. The other thing that we know, if we were to graph this and make this a shape on a graph, we know that it would make a parabola. And we also know that the parabola would face down. Can you figure out why it would face down? Well, because the leading coefficient is less than 1. Okay, so it would face down. All right, which means that if it had a vertex, when it does, the vertex is going to be the highest point. So since this function represents revenue, we know that the highest point of revenue will be at the vertex. Okay, so let's break that down some more. So we know that given our function, okay, because the leading coefficient is less than 0, our parabola is going to face down, which means that the vertex will be the maximum point. So really, in the grand scheme of things, all they're asking us to do is find the vertex. Well, the second thing that we need to know is, remember, you have to identify what form your quadratic is in order to apply the right formulas to it. Well, this function is written in standard form. So that means we're going to have to use the vertex formula to find the vertex. So since it's already in standard form, we're going to identify what A, B, and C are. Well, A is negative 15, B is 4,500, and C is 0. So we also know that vertex is represented by HK, and the formula to find H is given by H equals negative B over 2A, and K is equal to F of H. So we plug in our values for A and B. And when we do that, we get negative 4,500 over 2 times negative 15. When we multiply, we get negative 4,500 over negative 30. And when we divide those two numbers, a negative divided by a negative is positive, and we get positive 150. Okay, that's the H of our vertex. Okay, and then we take 150 and we plug it in for K. All right, so to solve that, you can plug it in the calculator if you want to. When you simplify it, you get 337,500. So that's the K. Okay. Now, the trick is you have two values when you get the vertex, but they're only asking you to find the maximum revenue. So you have to figure out, well, which one is the right answer? Is 150 or 337,500? Well, let's take a look at our function. So our function is R of P equals negative 15P squared plus 4,500P. And the two variables that are in that function are P and R. P is the input variable, and R is what comes out. So any coordinate that comes out of this function is a combination of a price and the matching revenue. So when they're asking for the maximum revenue, they're not asking for both the 150 and the 337,500. They're just asking for the second number that we got because they're only interested in the revenue. If they were interested in the price, we would give them the 150, but since they're not, we only give them the second answer. So even though we were finding the vertex, make sure that you're giving them the right answer. Are they asking for the price? Are they asking for the revenue? Or are they asking for both? So just be careful.